Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Britton's Hangout Hour, episode 104. I'm here with Chaz from Bookish Chas. It's another episode, kind of like with Tom Orange, where it took a minute for us to get this together, but we're here now. How are you doing, Chaz?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks, Britton. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's the weekend, and I'm hanging out. I'm having a good time.
Awesome.
Um,
Yeah, weekends are nice for relaxing and reading and trying to catch up with things you can't during the week.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a tough reading year because, like, I guess my school's just been ridiculously busy, so it keeps like snatching away time I would like to spend reading. And
I
also I
hear that.
read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which was freaking massive. So it took me
Oh,
4 months.
yeah.
It's a great book. I really enjoyed it, but it was long.
It's been on my list for a while. It's on my list of intimidating books.
That is fair. I mean, it's a good book. Like I mean, it's really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, but it is a bit. I mean, I won't say it's dense. I mean, it's not hard to understand. But it's based on the 18th century, so
Right.
you can imagine it's a bit long-winded. But it makes
Sure.
sense because
Yeah.
that's what they were like during that time.
hmm
But
Yeah. I've read Piranesi, but I haven't read that one yet. So
yeah, that was what I did. I read Piranesi first. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And then I read
I did too.
Jonathan Strange, Mr. Norrell. I'm like, wow. I will say I really love how she did magic in Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So
Oh, cool. I love good magic. So it's one I'll definitely eventually read.
yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, I read a lot of fantasy. I love a lot of fantasy, but like magic isn't something I worry too much about. It's not something I focus on as much.
Yeah.
But like I was reading Jonathan Strange, Mr. Norrell. I'm like, wow, the magic in this is really good. Like it's like really mysterious and weird. I dig it a lot.
Cool. You had me at mysterious and weird. That sounds right up my alley. Are you more of a character driven or what's your main thing?
Oh man, I always kind of chafe when because usually I'm like I like characters a lot, but then I'll read like something where the characters aren't like a big thing, and I'll be like, oh, this is great. So I try not to you know hold myself down with that, but I'm a big
Yeah.
character guy. I will say that, and I'm a big theme guy. I like themes a lot. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah, themes are good too. I do like books with strong themes for sure.
Wow. But yeah, it's generally like you know like prose. Like it's kind of I pay more attention to that now than I thought I did. So I used to not pay attention to it much, and then like I'll be like, wow, this was really good. He worded that
Yeah.
really well. Like I'm reading Hyperion right now.
Oh, that's my man. That's one of my favorite sci-fi books. It really is.
Yeah, it's really good. I see why a lot of people really like it a lot. I just read I read the Scholars story last night, and
Oh,
that was really
yeah.
sad.
Man, yeah, the scholar's story that really that tore me apart. Yeah, that really ripped me apart emotionally,
Yeah,
especially as a parent.
mm-hmm.
That I think it hits harder as a parent. I don't know if you have kids or whatever, but you know, uh,
I did
seeing
not I did not
someone.
have kids. I'm only 23 at this point in time, but I
Oh,
am a
okay, okay,
son. So
okay, yeah, right, yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
so you can imagine how your parents would feel if something like that happened to you. It's just
I honestly I kind of took it as like a metaphor for like Alzheimer's or something like that. That's kind of
I can see that.
it's like a weird because like she loses her memory little she like loses her memory as she ages backward. It's quite strange. I
It
mean, I don't
it
mean to
is. It's
laugh. It's
very
really
strange.
sad, but
Yeah, Yeah. Do you think you're going to read Fall of Hyperion?
Probably. I heard that because my friends, when I told them I was going to read this, they're like, "Hey, Britton, it's the first part of a story. Hey, Britton, it's the
Yes.
first part of a story. Hey," I'm like, "Okay, I heard you the first time. I get it."
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. There's a
when I'll do it, I have no clue, but I will get to it.
yeah. Especially because I mean I won't give spoilers, but I'll just say there is a twist to that particular storyline that you will not expect. So
But yeah, I really liked the scholar's story. I also liked the priest's story a lot. Um, Poet's story was fun, though I do feel he was getting a little too cute with the references.
yeah, I get that.
Which I'm like, okay, Simmons, I can see how this makes sense. You know, he is a poet after all, so he would
Yeah,
probably know a lot of this stuff. But I'm like, okay, calm down. This is taking me out of the story a little bit.
right.
You know, but it's interesting because like it deals with a lot of topics that that aren't covered in a lot of sci-fi. Like how would publishing work out in the future? Like that's not really talked about a lot.
Right.
Or religion, or well, religion is covered in sci-fi a lot, but like how would religion go through the future?
Hmm.
Um, and it's not just oh, we've outgrown religion, because I hate that trope. I don't think that trope is realistic, personally
Yeah.
speaking. Um, but here we are. um, but I thought it was interesting how he's like, yeah, it will, but it's different. So,
Yeah.
and also, I'm uh, quite fascinated by religion, so there's a lot of religious references in this as well. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah. There are, and yeah, lots of religious references, lots of philosophical references, and just uh, a lot to do with poetry as well, which I thought
Yeah,
was kind of cool about the whole Keats character.
this might be a bit of an understatement, but I'm like, the Shrike, kind of a big meanie, you know?
He is, yeah, or it is, or whatever you, yeah.
Whatever it is, I don't know. I just default to he for some reason.
No, I get it. I get it. I kind of do too. Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a big meanie. It's not nice.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting, particularly in the poet story, how it's like he thinks that he kind of birthed it or something, or he brought it back because of his muse.
Right.
And poor sad King Billy, he doesn't know what he's doing. I felt really bad
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah. Sad King Billy. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I'm also doing a rare reread. I'm reading "The City in the City" by China Miéville right now.
So that's been on my list for a while. I have a kind of a weird relationship with China Miéville because
A lot of people do. That's fair.
I DNF'd Perdido Street Station,
Oh,
although
that's one of my favorite. That's my favorite from him.
and I do want to go back and probably give it another try at some point. That's one of the few books I DNF'd that I'm like, I'm really disappointed that I DNF'd it, and maybe I should give it another try. Um, I'm also really curious about his new collaboration with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I've seen that at my local bookshop, and I I remember when that was first announced. I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah,
I think I do remember. I read an interview with Mieville. I think he is a fan of The Matrix, so I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
yeah. I saw a talk that he and Keanu did together, talking about the project that they did together and everything, and it was quite interesting. He is a huge fan of the Matrix, and a huge fan of Keanu in general. So,
I
and
mean, who
it's
isn't? Keanu seems like a really cool guy.
he does, yeah, and yeah, I'm a big fan of Keanu myself, and
I'm
so
not I'm not a Matrix fan, but I do love me some John Wick. I do.
Oh man, John Wayne. I have not seen chapter 4 yet, but I've
No,
seen all the others and
I
absolutely
will
love
admit
them.
though, chapter 4 kind of stretched my suspension of disbelief a little bit, but that's
Yeah,
kind of a given, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Those movies are kind of like that in general, but I've heard that about chapter 4. Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically what Roger Ebert would call a roller coaster film, and
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. It's John Woo, right? That does those. I think he's the
John Wick?
director.
I don't think so. He did do Face Off though, which is kind of
Yeah, for some reason I thought it was John Woo. I must be mistaken, but um, yeah, that's interesting.
a But yeah, you run a BookTube channel where you talk about books, and haven't you written
Mhm.
something? I thought I saw you on Joe Carroll's channel. You wrote something, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I wrote one book. In fact, let's see where I got to figure out where I put it yet. I should be better about
Did you publish
having it
it?
ready. What's that?
Did you publish it?
I did. Yeah. Well, I self-published it. So,
No, I
but
mean,
yeah,
well, yeah, no, I mean,
yeah, I
either
published
way.
it. Yeah, yeah, I published it. So I've got yeah, Talendor's Guest is my first book,
Oh,
and then my new book is coming out in October. I've got a new book coming out as well called The Nomad's Crucible. So it's an assassin story.
oh,
So
like, is that sci-fi or fantasy?
it's it's a mix of sci-fi and fantasy, but it's heavier on the fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic world of sorts, but it's heavier on the fantasy. So
I see. I see.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool though, because I remember you on like Joe Carroll's channel
Hmm.
talking about that. I think we were so.
Yeah, yeah. Joe Carroll's another one of many good people on BookTube. This community is so awesome. I love it, and so many great creators and so many. I mean, Joe's a great author in himself. I read his first book, More Than a Vampire, and it was quite good. So
I have
um,
not read it myself, but I do like the cover a lot. I'm a bit
yeah,
of
his covers are
I'm a bit of a
very cool
cover
and very
snob,
unique.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
So like I'll see a cover and I'll be like, that's good. I like that. Like I'll admit it is a little pulpy, but I do like the Hyperion cover, this
I
version.
do too.
Even though I call these kind of copies like an airport novel copy of it because it's really
That's
small.
a good way to describe it.
But I like the cover. It's really like it's very evocative. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I would love it if they did a. I mean, if some company published well, let's say a somewhat affordable special edition of it, I would totally jump at it.
Yeah. So like
Uh,
you're in like broken binding and all that because
I'm not a huge fan of Broken Binding. I have some of their editions that I was given, like Jen Williams' Winnowing Flame trilogy, the Ninth Reign and such. I was given those, and they're nice, but yeah, I haven't been too big of a fan of Broken Binding, and part of it is I haven't been able to get, like, I've tried several times to get on their, like, off of their wait list on the subscriptions, and I've just never been able to get on. And I'm like, wow, okay,
I am not of the broken binding because I mean I'm gonna really try and be careful with my words here because I don't want to like offend people by mistake, but
sure,
like I'm
yeah,
not one like who buys books just to have them on my shelf. Usually there
yeah,
are exceptions. I have a Shakespeare copy that I'm very pleased with, and it's for my enjoyment. But that's
yeah,
about it. But I have thought of getting the Perdido Street Station and the Scar from Broken Bind. That's the only thing that's really tempted me because I'm like, ooh, ooh, and also like they're like cult. It's a cult series, Boslag. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pick them up. It's probably not gonna be that much
yeah.
money.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I'm the same way. Like
Like
with the
most books I
exception
buy,
of
I'll just say I intend to read them at some point.
yes, yeah, I'm the same way. I only buy books from my shelf that I either intend to read or that I've already read and I believe are shelf worthy.
That's
Um,
fair.
other than that, I buy everything on ebook or I get it from the library or something like that. But
Yeah, I mean, I have a book couch is what I call it because this couch and I just slap a crap load of books on there.
yeah,
Um, my mom's like, "We're gonna get you a new shelf," and I'm like, "I've asked you and you said no." So like, couches,
has to be on her terms, right?
I guess so. Um, hey, I'm looking at your channel and the thumbnail for your horror video is a bit spooky.
Oh yeah,
I just looked at him like, oh my gosh.
yeah. Oh, that was the one where I put the horns on my head and stuff like that. Is
Yeah,
it
and
that
the
one?
like
Yeah,
demon eyes. I was like, oh, jeez.
yeah. I had fun with that one. That was back when I. That was back before I started trying to do more uniform thumbnails,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to always do like a scene or something that had to do with the subject and yeah, yeah, that was a fun. You're not the only one that I got comments on about that, though. They're like, I had a few friends that were like, Chess, honestly, that kind of freaked me out. I'm like, oh, really? I'll do more of that now. I like to scare my friends. No,
So yeah, man. But you mostly cover fantasy, I take it, and
yeah,
um,
yeah, mostly fantasy, some sci-fi as well, some mysteries and thrillers, but yeah, mostly fantasy.
occasionally fictional memoirs. I see you have the Scott Lang book.
Yeah, that was the only one I've ever done, and I just that was kind of a random decision. I think I'm going to do a review for this. It was a fun book, more of a promotional piece for the movie than anything, but it was good.
um, Even some comics. That's cool. Yeah, because I also cover comics on my channel as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff for the Sandman. I did some stuff for the Lock and Key series, and yeah,
Yeah, I still need to actually get the Sandman. I only would the only I've only read the library copies,
oh yeah, yeah,
so yeah. Um, but yeah,
yeah. I started buying them when they came out with the 30th anniversary editions, and so
that's
those are the
fair.
ones I ended up with, and they're really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was at my local bookshop yesterday, and I saw they had this gigantic, deluxe edition with the Charles Vess artwork.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I'm like, oh, it's probably a lot of money. I don't want to burn my, I don't want to burn a hole in my bank account right now.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, they are a lot of money. I think those editions are like I think there's two or three editions to complete the set, and I think they're each like 80 to $100 each.
oh my god, yeah. And then I'm like, and then Leslie S. Klinger did a annotated edition, and I'm like,
Oh,
they,
that's right.
and I'm like, they freaking annotated it. Like I didn't know you could annotate a comic, but apparently you can. So I'm like, oh
Yeah,
cool.
apparently you can.
I did think about getting the annotated American Gods because I love that book intensely.
Yeah, I thought about getting
But
that
you know,
too. Is he the one that did the annotated Sherlock Holmes as well?
I think so. Yeah, he's done a
Yeah,
couple of things. He's
yeah,
done annotated
that,
Lovecraft, annotated.
yeah,
Um, I think he did Frankenstein. He's done a lot of classics, and he also did
yeah.
Watchmen. He did Watchmen,
Oh, okay,
which
nice.
was that was neat.
I've thought about getting the annotated Sherlock Holmes and Lovecraft. Those are I saw those on Michael K. Vaughan's channel. I'm like, oh, those are nice.
Yeah, I did get the purple annotated Lovecraft because I'm a big Victor LaValle fan, and he did the introduction. So
Oh, he did. I didn't know he did the introduction because I'm a huge Victor LaValle fan as well. His book, The Ballad of Black Tom, is one of my absolute favorites.
Oh yeah, it's that one's good. I really like The Devil in Silver myself. I'm more
Oh,
partial to
that's
that
one
book.
that's on my list. I'm fairly new to reading him. I read The Changeling as well, which I thought was
That's
good.
also very good. That's it. I call it his Neil Gaiman book.
Right?
Because
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, yeah. I won't like try to talk about I'm sure there's gonna be people in the comments shouting at me. They're way different. Like, well, whoever's read The Changeling, because like because like there's not a lot of people who've talked about The Changeling. I've talked about it on my channel because
I have too. I quite liked it, and I can definitely see the similarities between it's a very Gaiman-esque style.
Yeah, it's
and
like it's
or type of story.
it's like the magical underground thing type of book.
Yep,
Which
exactly.
Gaiman specializes in.
Yep, sure does.
I think he did it best in American Gods. I haven't read Neverwhere yet though, so don't judge me.
What's that?
So don't come at me and be like, well, what about Neverwhere? I haven't read it yet. So
Right. Yeah, Neverwhere is actually very good. It's my second favorite Gaiman book, and I I much prefer that over American Gods. I would say, even though I enjoyed American Gods, it's my least favorite of his books.
Huh, that's interesting. Well, actually, that's not surprising. I remember he wrote in an introduction he did. I think it was the 10. I think it's actually in the copy I have. But he says in there, he's like, "This is gonna be a love it or hate it kind of book."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's so true.
And
Because
I
I've met people who absolutely love it. I mean, I'm amongst those people. It is my favorite fantasy novel of all time.
oh,
And
nice. Yeah,
and at least so far anyway, it could always change. Is why I say right now. But
yeah.
um but well, I think that and the Sandman is my favorite of his works anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sandman.
I was gonna
My
make a
favorite.
point, but I lost it.
No, that's okay. My favorite of his books is Ocean at the End of the Lane.
That
But
is good. I like that one a lot, though. I find towards the end it gets a little like too weird for its own good, but like the beginning though, like where the narrator is talking about like he had a cat when he was a kid, and he talks about how he felt when he lost the cat. Like I think that's some of Neil's best writing. I think.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Um, in the American Gods universe, I would say that A Nancy Boys is a much better book.
Yeah, I have a Nancy Boys. I haven't read it yet. I'm actually
It,
I'm thinking of experimenting with immersive reading next year, when people get audiobooks and they read it at the same time, cuz I have heard the Lenny Henry Anansi Boys is fantastic.
really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. I'll have to maybe check that out. I think I might have A Nancy Boys on audio, but I think it might be the Gaiman narration.
Yeah, let me and I have the version that like where they put out a bunch of like versions and it was like watercolor paintings and they were I don't really get it. I mean, I like watercolor a lot, but it was really weird. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for his books at least, I don't think the watercolor really works.
No. Though they're selling them at Barnes and Noble, I'm like, all right, God bless you.
Right?
I actually like the ones with the like real old school fantasy covers.
Okay.
Yeah, have you seen those?
Yeah.
They're like
I have. Yeah, that yeah, like it's the ones that come out in those really weirdly sized mass market
yeah,
paperbacks.
that's why I don't have them because again, they're kind of like they're kind of like this. They're just really hard to
That's my copy of A Nancy Boys.
Oh yeah, that one.
That style. Yeah, yeah, so good. Yeah, I like those too.
So I may read a Nancy Boys next year. I'm not sure
Nice.
because there's other books I'm definitely wanting to read that I'm putting above that one. So And Nancy
Yeah,
Boy is on
there was
my, if I
supposed
can get to it, I'll get to it. You know.
there was supposed to be an adaptation of Anansi Boys on Amazon Prime,
Uh huh.
but I don't know what's happening, what's going to be happening with a lot of the adaptations now that the whole scandal has come out. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into that here, though. I promise. I'm just
I know. I
saying.
know. Yeah.
I hope it doesn't affect the adaptations because there's so many good ones. I know for a fact. I recently read that Good Omens 3 is moving along, and I'm pretty sure Sandman is in post production for season 2, if not already complete. So I think we're going to be getting that one, but I don't know about any of the others. I know they just recently canceled Dead Boy Detectives.
Yeah, that was yeah, I saw the trailers for that. I had a friend who saw it and he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." No.
Yeah, it was. I was really impressed, and of course, the Dead Boy Detectives are Sandman adjacent. They're kind of part of that universe. So, um,
Yeah, but
I
Netflix is always cancel happy. I mean, they
they are.
canceled the OA and
Yeah, the OA was quite good. I didn't watch the second season, but I liked the first season.
I watched the first couple of episodes and I don't know, I just didn't get it and I just kind of put it off and then
Okay.
I've had friends who are like, "Bro, it's really good." And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll watch it again, but I got rid of Netflix a few months ago, so
Oh,
um
yeah, fair enough.
I have a bunch of other streaming services. So like, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. I get that.
No, it's um I but yeah, it's a good series.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um
Yeah,
well, I did really enjoy the Sandman adaptation. I thought I thought it was beautifully done. I'm like, because like
I did too.
for like so many years, people were like, "Oh my god," like Sandman. How the hell are they gonna adapt that? And they did it. They did it. You know,
They did.
I think
Yeah,
it would have. Now, I personally think it could have been done better if it were animated, but they pulled it off in live action. So I mean, I can
yeah.
just shut my mouth now.
We did get the episode with the cats animated,
That
which
is
I thought
true.
was good
That's true.
because I don't think that would have been good in live action. I think having it animated was much better.
Yeah, yeah, that I agree. I'll say that. I'll agree. I agree. Um, I am really hoping they get to the Shakespeare stuff because that's some of my favorite parts of the Sandman. Well,
Yeah,
that isn't the serial killer convention, which they did beautifully in
they
the. Oh
did.
my god, it was so good.
I'm really glad that they gave the Corinthian a more extended role in the show.
Yeah, same. I really like that, and Boyd Holbrook was really good as that character as well.
He
So.
was, yeah, he was fantastic, and there's if you ever get to watch Dead Boy Detectives, there is a cameo from Despair,
Oh.
and that was really cool because and it's the same actor from the upcoming season 2 of the Sandman, so it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she was fantastic. Um, yeah,
Isn't Despair the obese one?
yes,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the only difference in the show, which they can't really do on network television, is the character's nude in the graphic novel, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
they didn't do that in the show for obvious reasons. But everything else I thought was spot on.
Oh yeah, it was I really enjoyed I enjoyed most of it. It was really there was very little I had like problems with. So,
Hmm.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think we're going to get to see. Oh, not is it? It's not delusion. It's
Delirium?
delirium. Thank you.
I think it's
I
Delirium.
yeah, I think delirium is going to be in the new season. So I'm very curious to see how that goes, and they're going to cover the Wanda story arc, the trans character in the series. They're going to
Oh
be
yeah, yeah.
this is the particular the this season corresponds with that particular one of those volumes of the Sandman that covers Wanda's story, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, they've done very well with it.
Yeah, they have.
I am very pleased. They
Yeah,
did not drop the ball.
yeah, that's right. They didn't.
Which
They
that would have
didn't.
sucked if they that would have sucked if oh man. But anyway, um really well
The one
cast,
I'm
really well cast too. I loved Stephen Fry as Green Gable.
oh,
That
he
was
was great.
like that was top tier.
That was I love Stephen Fry in anything. Yeah,
Um, he and Boyd Holbrook was good, and they got the guy who played Dream was very good. I can't remember. I think it's like Tom
yeah, Tom
Sturridge or something.
Sturridge. He's fantastic. Yeah,
Even
Kirby
Death. I
Howell
mean,
Baptiste was great as Death as well.
yeah, it was a good one. I really enjoyed her a lot. And I wasn't like bugged that she wasn't white as some other people were.
I wasn't either.
I'm like
Yeah,
that's you know
that's frivolous to me.
yeah. Like if that bothers you, then like I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The the series that I'm worried about ever getting a proper adaptation is the Dark Tower series, but Mike Flanagan from the the Fall of the House of Usher and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. He's got a hold and is working on a new Dark Tower adaptation, and
Yeah, the last
I
movie
have
was
the
just
utmost faith in him.
yeah, that movie was a complete travesty. So the less said about that, the better. And
Well, it was an I got an interesting perspective on that not too long ago. But I was reading a conversation with Stephen King, and he was talking about how he and the directors intended that as kind of like a sequel or a coda to the original series.
hmm,
And so I don't know. I may watch the movie just to see what I think, because with that perspective, I'm like, huh. Because they pointed out, well, I don't know. Have you read the entire Dark Tower series?
long time ago, yes, yeah.
Okay. So they pointed out that in the movie he has the Horn of Eld, which
Mm-hmm.
he did not have in the book series. So it's kind of like at the end of the book series, of course, he gets the Horn of Eld, and then the movie has the Horn of Eld. So it's like, okay, I guess I can kind of see that, but I'll have to see the movie to see what I think. But I'm not going to pay money to watch it. I'll just wait until it's on streaming sometime or whatever. But we shall see.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think of it like that. I just Dark Tower itself is it's just a weird you know, a lot of King fans didn't expect it, I imagine.
Yeah, that's true. I will say that I like the casting.
Oh, they've
I think
announced a
Matthew
cast?
McConaughey fits the role of the Man in Black, and I think I think from just the trailers that I saw, I feel like Idris Elba made a good role in Deshane.
Oh, well, I mean,
But but I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. But
yeah, I won't go into it. It's basically the problem with a lot of adaptations. They try to cram it all into one movie, and you can't.
yeah,
You know, so um, at least with something like Dark Tower, anyway.
yeah,
Though Mike
I get that.
Flanagan on it, I have a lot. I have a lot more faith because he's one of those guys, kind of like Frank Darabont, who just gets King on such a fundamental level. So
Yes, yes, indeed.
I think he would do well with it.
Yeah, yeah. He's done a couple of other Stephen King adaptations. Didn't he do? Oh,
I know he did
what's the
Gerald's
one?
Game, which I liked a
Gerald
lot.
King. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
He did Doctor Sleep, which I really enjoyed.
Yes, that's right. He did. I forgot about that.
He's did some other ones. I don't know, but he just recently did one called Life of Chuck, I think. Because I saw Stephen
Oh,
King talking about that yesterday on
okay, that's
Twitter.
cool. Sounds like he and Mike Flanagan have a good working relationship. Then that's good.
Yeah, I mean, if you're adapting the books that good, and yeah, I'd say it's pretty. Though, Doctor Sleep is interesting because it kind of combines the book and this Kubrick movie. Because you know the Kubrick movie is just a lot different.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen. I've never seen The Shining.
No,
I haven't
wow,
read.
that's.
Yeah, I haven't read the book either. I'm planning to read the book in October.
I will say they
And
are two different beasts. It's one of those rare
I've heard that.
adaptations where it's like it's a completely different beast altogether.
Yeah, but I love Jack Nicholson, so I will watch it and probably enjoy it, but enjoy it in a different way than the book probably. But Salem's Lot is my favorite Stephen King book so far. I haven't read a lot of King,
That's
but
interesting. Um,
what I have read, I loved it.
that's interesting. I like Salem's Lot, though. I think it does that concept better in terms of
Hmm.
small town with the evil undercurrent. Because that's something King really likes. He returns to a lot in his
Yeah,
work.
I was not a fan of it. I enjoyed it for the most part, but I felt like it was way too long and drawn out for me personally. But a lot of people love it. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I did a conversation with my friend Colin from Colin's Corner about it.
yeah, yeah,
About almost a year ago now. That's crazy. Um, but I think it's a good. I think it's great. It's one of his best. I think it's definitely my
yeah.
favorite like King Chunker book because
Mm.
I do like the stand a lot, but the climax really kind of really
Yeah.
tanks the momentum in that book.
The climax was really disappointing.
And even King himself admitted he kind of just pulled that out of his ass. So I was like,
Yeah, the stand was another one that I barely finished. I'm
Now
like,
the actual ending was fine. I was like, okay, the ending is pretty good, but the climax, I was like, oh, that's really, oh, why'd you do that?
yeah,
It's basically like he. Have you ever seen Monty Python: The Holy Grail?
yes, yep,
It's literally just it's instead of the holy hand grenade, it's the holy nuclear bomb from
right,
God. It's like what, King? This isn't a Monty Python film. Get out of here.
right.
Though I think that was back in his like drug days, so that could be an
Okay,
explanation. I have no idea.
could be, could be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not sure. At least the original. Because I read the preferred the author's preferred version, the longer
Oh yeah,
version
yeah.
of the stand, and I've heard people say that if you don't like the author's preferred version, you might like the original version better because it's shorter, it's not as long and drawn out as the current version is. So I'm like, maybe. I don't know how to get a hold of a copy of that though. So
Yeah, that's I think I have the author's preferred edition. It's another really small one like this book here
yeah,
or my Gentleman Bastards collection.
nice.
Um um I mean I think King's a really great author when he when he really I mean, not to say he's like bad, but like sometimes he does kind of overextend himself, like you say. Like, even in his shorter work, I really love 1922, but like there are moments where like he kind of goes on a little longer than he probably should have. I'm like, yeah, okay, you could have
Hmm.
just stopped here and it'd been fine. But um, But The Stand, I really like how The Stand goes from like post-apocalyptic, sci-fi slash horror, and now you're in an epic fantasy novel.
Right.
I really like how seamlessly he did that. I think I think it takes a lot of skill to do that. I know a lot of people
Hmm.
hate on The Stand because the climax, and for good reason. Again, the climax is literally here's the holy nuclear bomb. We're gonna set it off.
Right.
But
Yeah, he does get hated on for several things. Like a lot of people don't like the end of the Dark Tower.
I thought it was an interesting ending. It was really
Yeah,
like
I
just
did too, and it makes the series rereadable too. Like, oh, it ended this way. I can just reread the series and experience it all over again.
yeah. It's like the obsession that Roland had for the Dark Tower, and I'm like,
Mhm.
of course it could have ended like this. You know.
Right. Indeed.
But that's just my opinion. I know there's a lot of people who are like, "What? This is dumb." Yeah.
Hmm.
A lot of people say he can't end things well. I disagree. He can. He just struggles with it a lot because,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it is hard to end things. To be fair, but read like 11/22/63 or it. He can end well. He can do really beautiful endings. You know.
Yeah.
Though apparently, like how he writes is he just like scrawls it out and then he like tries to put it together. So I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
can see how there might be some stuff that's lost.
Right.
you know. Salem's Lot's good though. It's one of the better vampire novels I've read.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's cool.
like what are some of your other like favorite books and series that you enjoy?
Oh boy. Yeah. That's a good one. I'm a huge fan of Aaron Morgenstern, the Night Circus and the Starless Sea. In fact, I did splurge and buy really fancy copies of those because she's my second favorite author.
Wait, who
Um,
is?
Aaron Morgenstern.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, the lady
the
who
Night
did
Circus.
she did the Starless Sea, didn't she?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. The Starless Sea and the Night Circus.
Yes, I've heard a lot of people go, "Ooh, the Night Circus is really good." So,
It is. Yeah. I'm a huge George R. R. Martin fan.
yeah, I see a
So
couple of Song of Ice and Fire videos
yeah.
on here. I was reading through some of the, I was kind of reading some old passages. I'm like, damn, I gotta go back to this and see how it holds up. But again, I don't know when I'm gonna do that. It is one of my favorite series as well, though. That was a
Right.
formative one for me.
I'm holding out hope for book six. And so, I definitely will do a reread once we get an announcement for book six. But part of me is like, well, I don't know if we're getting that or not. But then part of me hopes we are. And
I have no. I'm kind of on Jimmy's mind when it comes to When's a Winter. I think we will get a form of it. Now, A Dream of Spring, that's a whole other deal.
yeah, Dream of Spring, I'm kind of like, that's less optimistic. But yeah,
We'll
Winds of
see.
Winter, I think we'll get something.
Though, apparently George R. R. Martin has been courting controversy once more because of some of his blog posts.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know he got his blog post about House of the Dragon pulled down.
Yeah, I didn't read
Uh,
it,
I,
so
I read it before it got pulled down. It was I didn't see anything wrong with what he said. He was just, um, he was lovingly critical about some of the directions they took the show. But I didn't think it was anything worth taking down. Oh, hello, Ari. She's come to join us. So
um,
yeah, there we go. All right. You want to say hi to all the lovely folks?
this is your partner in crime when you do
My partner in
videos.
crime. Yes, she is.
um, no, one yeah, like there were things I forgot. Like I forgot the Tower of Joy scene was in the books. Though it's kind of a
Yeah.
fever dream version of that. You know, forgot about like John Cunnington. I'm like, man, that guy was great. You know, I'm like, I gotta read these again. I gotta see how they hold up.
Right.
And one of my friends is like,
Yeah.
don't. And I'm like, are you just saying that because you're salty we haven't gotten the ending? And he's like, no, 4 and 5 aren't very good. And I'm like, yeah, shut up. I was like, shut up.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely beg to differ there. I think
I think
Storm
they're
of
really
Swords
good.
is
They're
still
just a
the pinnacle,
little.
but
I think Martin has a similar problem of King. He goes on too long. You know,
hmm.
at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I
You
can
know, I
see
know
that.
there's people who will disagree. It's just from this is what I'm remembering from reading it like 7 years ago. So take that with a grain of salt if you want.
Have you read any of the extended stuff like Fire and Blood and The Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
I have read Fire and Blood,
Yeah.
which was interesting because it was kind of what I like to call a tale of two books. First half, loved it. Second half, really dry, and I was like, okay. And then we got to the Dance of the Dragons. I'm like, okay, this is a lot better. And then that was kind of. I do like his I do like the Dunkin' Egg, and I'm so excited we're finally getting an adaptation.
Oh, I know. I'm really
Ah,
excited about that as well. Yeah.
I don't know how
I
they're gonna
love,
do it because they're novellas, but
right.
I don't know how they're gonna stretch that out a couple of episodes, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if they do just like one limited series for all three graphic, or all three novellas, I think that will probably work. But yeah, it's hard to say. I guess, like you said, we'll see. And he said he plans to write more novellas eventually for that series. So I'm like, wow, really, George? Are you really gonna do that? Or
I don't know.
so?
It, like I like to tell people it's his Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. It's not as horny as Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, but it is his take on Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser.
Oh,
Because
I have not read Poppard and the Gray Mouser yet, but I just think that's funny that you did that. It's not quite as horny. I have
I
not
mean,
heard that about Poppard and the Gray Mouser.
they're often chasing after women in the story, so I mean, it's
Oh man,
it's kind of funny. I mean, you can quibble. People can quibble with this if you want, but I'm like, people always are like getting after the male gaze and stories, and I'm like, on the one hand, I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time, speaking as a man, we're that's how we are a lot of the time.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
there's a
that
there's
is
a little
very
element of truth
common.
in that. So I mean, at
Yeah.
least I think so. I don't. There might be people who'll get mad at me and say I'm a sexist or whatever, but
The series that I think gets criticized the most for that is the Dresden Files, and I actually really like the Dresden Files.
I haven't read them yet. Thought I heard someone knocking at my door.
Okay,
I'm gonna text my mom real quick. Uh,
sure.
Someone's knocking on the door. All right. Where was I at? Oh yes.
Dresden Files.
Dresden Files. Haven't read them yet, but I did meet James Marsters like a few years
Okay,
ago at a local con. Um,
that's cool.
um, I'll admit I did not know him from Buffy. I am a big Torchwood fan. That's where I knew him from. And he
Oh,
was very excited to talk about Torchwood, I will say.
that's cool. So I have not watched Torchwood yet. It's on my list because I'm a huge fan of Captain
Oh
Jack.
my! Yeah, I was about to say he is my favorite. John Barrowman was at that same
Yeah.
convention. I didn't meet him. I was so mad. I
Oh
really wanted to
man,
meet him
yeah.
and be like,
I would
dude.
love to meet John Barrowman. Any chance I get to see Captain Jack Harkness, I'm like, sign me up.
I
But
know. It was so
but
it was
I
so
did not know
sad.
that James Marsters was in that. I'll have to check it out now because I
Um,
love James Marsters. I did enjoy him in Buffy, although I have not finished the series.
I
But
haven't seen
he
Buffy.
he is Harry Dresden for me. I can't. whenever I read Harry Dresden, I have to read it with the audiobooks now immersive, or just listen to the audiobooks, period, because I can't unhear his voice when I'm thinking of Dresden.
Yeah, no, he was a nice guy. It was fun talking to him. You know, I asked him about Torchwood. I'm like, oh man, I'm sad it ended. He's like, yeah, me too. That was a good show. I'll admit he probably was happy to talk about something else other than Buffy and the Dresden Files. But I'm sure he enjoys talking about those too.
Yeah, I'm sure. And he's been in other stuff. There was that one Marvel show that he was in, where there were the different kids, the Runaways, Marvel's Runaways.
Oh
He
yeah.
was in, yeah, he was in that one as well, and I thought he was really good in that one.
Yeah, he's good at playing those like rogue characters, which is why I think he
Mm-hmm.
was great in in Torchwood, because he plays like a rogue, but he's also kind of a villain. But him and Jack have a history because Captain Jack.
Yeah, Captain Jack has a history with everyone.
Yeah.
My favorite I my favorite thing with Jack Harkness is when the one episode where there were the robots that were cleaning him up for a show, or it was
Oh
on some,
yeah, yeah. In his first
and
season, yeah, I remember
and
that.
they're like, and they told him to strip, and he's like, really, your ratings just went up. I was dying. It was so good.
That's great. Yeah, I love Captain Jack. He's a lot of fun, and
Yeah,
when you watch Torchwood, you're gonna get a lot of that. It's
yeah,
Captain Jack just being himself, and we do
that's
see like
great.
I will say it is darker than regular Doctor Who. Like you see kind of a
Okay,
darker side of Captain Jack, but he's still
yeah.
Captain Jack. He's still kind of you know he's still having fun, living his
Mhm.
life, doing his thing.
And I heard that David Tennant makes a couple of appearances as the Doctor as well.
Well, kind of. Like in the first season, a lot of it is him waiting for the captain or waiting for for the doctor to return because he has his
Yeah,
hand
right.
in a jar.
Yeah.
And at the end of the first season, it's vibrating, and that's when he runs off. And if
Hmm.
you remember when we get the whole Master arc with Harold
Yep.
Sim arc, that's when he goes to join the Doctor for that.
Yeah.
It's really well done how they did that. Kind of mild spoilers, but not really because I'm hoping you've seen the Sim or
Oh
not
yeah.
John.
Oh
John
yeah.
Sim is the
I've
actual name.
seen all of Doctor Who except the new season with Chudy Gatwa. I haven't seen that yet, but I really liked Chudy Gatwa in the last couple of episodes of season 14 or 14.5, whatever they're calling it. The short series. I really like him as the Doctor, so I'm curious to see the new season.
Yeah, it's a good one. Or well, no, I haven't seen it. I did see the anniversary one where David Tennant
Hmm.
came back,
Yes.
and
Yep.
that was great. It was fun. I really like the Doctor and Donna's dynamic a lot. Like that season of Doctor Who when it's just him and Donna just doing adventures like that. Oh my gosh, they were on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was a really neat send off for her grandfather too, because
Oh
the
man, I
actor.
was so like I almost cried when they like reunited. I was like, oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah, because that was his last TV appearance before he died,
Hmm.
and I thought that was a really cool send off.
Yeah, it was that was great. I'm like, oh man, that's
Bernard
so good.
Crubbins or something like that.
Because like I'm not much of a crier when it comes like even with books. I mean, um, I'm more often though to cry at like heartwarming stuff than like
Yeah,
heartbreaking stuff.
yeah. I cry equally with both. Tissue boxes are my friend,
No,
and
it's
I'm not ashamed of that either. I'm
that's
I'm I'm very, yeah.
Like you're
I
totally fine with it. I hear you, man. It's it's a good but I enjoy Doctor. Like I watched Doctor Who when I was in middle school, right? Because I got into
yeah.
it. Because a lot of my friends were like, "Oh man, Doctor Who, it's good." And I watched, I watched from like I haven't watched any of the old stuff, like with like the old Who they did back in the day. So I've only watched
Yeah.
the new Who.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the old Who except for a couple of random episodes. Uh, I do want to watch more of it though, but and I have BritBox and they're all on BritBox, but I've not watched them yet.
I a little bit of a spicy take. I think, or maybe not a spicy take, but I think Eccleston was a really good Doctor. He was very underappreciated. Well,
He was.
I do love me Tennant. I do love me some Tennant. He was great, but man, I wish we would have gotten more Eccleston as the Doctor. That would have been great.
I do too.
Um,
I really do, and I think it's unfortunate that he had such a big falling out with the
Davies.
with Davies because he was a great actor,
Um,
a great doctor.
like some of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who is from that first season. Like
Mhm.
Dalek. I love that episode. And
Yes,
when they're in World War II, when they meet Captain Jack for the first time, I'm like, oh, it's
right.
great. That was just a great season of television. I'll say that. Like,
It was. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, David's my favorite doctor. I would say Jodie is my second favorite only because she is so similar to David Tennant.
I haven't seen her run yet because I kind of dropped off after 12's first season, which was actually really good, by the way. I think
It was.
that was a really underrated season. I thought.
Yeah, it was. I agree.
Um, because a lot of people were always like, "Oh, Capaldi's good. The writing never, lived up to it." I'm like, I really liked season one. Like, who Missy
Yeah.
truly was great. The Cybermen coming back was great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I had a lot of fun with it. I'll say that. I had a great time with it.
Yeah. They said the same thing about Jodie Whittaker, and yeah, granted the writing wasn't great, but I enjoyed her seasons overall, and she's a great actor. So
Yeah, I've kind of realized Doctor Who is kind of like the X Files for me. Like those one offs are really great. Like they really
yeah,
cook with those one offs. And then like the main story. Some of them are good, but some of them just go off the rails. Like some of Matt Smith's seasons where they just completely gave up on trying to tell a coherent like story. But like
yeah,
those one offs are great.
I agree.
um
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, overall, I've had a very very good experience with Doctor Who, and I think I've watched it 3 times, twice with my kids, and to this day, my daughter is still terrified by what is it? It's is it the Silent Child or the one with the gas masks?
Oh yes, yeah. That's one of my
That freaked her. To this day, when she sees a gas mask, she's like, ugh.
Yeah, no, that is definitely that's one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who. Um,
Yeah,
um,
but
I
yeah,
may be a little
there's
partial because again, that's where we meet Captain Jack for the first time.
oh yeah, of course, yeah,
He's my favorite companion. He's great. I love him.
yeah. Captain Jack is really good. Yeah, I'm still partial to Rose Tyler. I like a lot of the other companions, but Rose Tyler still just does something for me. I don't know,
That's
but
interesting. Most people say Donna is their favorite
yeah,
companion.
a lot of people like Donna, and she's fine. She's just not my favorite.
You have to admit though, her and David Tennant's chemistry is just off the charts.
Their chemistry is very awesome. Yes.
Like it's great seeing them work together.
Hmm. Yeah, it really is. And so you saw the limited series where David Tennant came back. So if you saw it through to the end, you'll appreciate when I say that I think the ending of it was very poetic as far as he and Donna's story goes.
Yeah, I agree. It was really good. Though
Yeah.
I remember when it first came out. I'm like, God, how are they gonna explain the whole,
Yes.
because what happened when they finally, they couldn't hang out anymore, which
Yeah.
was just like, oh my God, it was so sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like one of the most brutal things in Doctor Who I've ever seen.
Yeah. I
Um,
get that.
though, I I really love the doctor. I think it's Vincent and the Doctor, or the Doctor and Vincent. I don't remember.
Oh, with Vincent Van Gogh.
Yeah,
Yeah, or Van Gogh, as they say in the show. I always thought that was really weird, but okay.
I don't know. You may like the Devil in Silver. Going back to our Victor LaValle talk, 'cause there's a couple of references to Van Gogh in that.
Oh, that's
Even
cool.
the
Yeah.
epigraph is from his letters, because
Okay.
he struggled with mental health his whole life.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I'll have to check it out. It's definitely on my list. Yeah, I definitely want to read more Victor LaValle for sure.
Oh yeah, I need to read his Lone Women. And
Yeah, that's his newest one, right?
yeah, it's the Western one. I've seen it around. I'm like, should I get
Yeah,
it?
that was the one I wasn't really sure about. Uh, yeah, I don't know, but maybe.
Um, but I think Laval's very good, or Laval, or however you pronounce it. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of those potato kind of
Yeah,
things.
no. Maybe I'll look up an interview with him and he'll say like Laval or something. I'll be like, all right, I'll just say that. That's what he said.
Right.
Like one of my favorite crime writers is named Dennis Lehane,
Oh
and
yeah,
um, I was talking to my friend Carlos at StoryTube about
yeah.
a
I
year
watch them a
back,
lot.
and he's like, because he's Irish. He's like, it's actually pronounced Lehane, and I'm like,
Yeah,
he says Lehane, all right, get out of here.
yeah. Every time I watch their channel and they bring up Dennis Lehane, I'm like, okay, so I guess it's supposed to be Lehan, but yeah, I don't know. Dialects and everything. It's all good, right?
Those
I mean,
Irish people.
technically, I was talking with my buddy about that today. I'm like, if you go back to Old English, technically, the uh, the old Arthurian tale of the Green Knight is actually Sir Gawain and the Green Knight,
I
but
read
everybody says Gawain, and because that's how it's like
I
modern English pronounces it. I,
I read the recent translation from a few years ago because it was the movie tie-in, and I really love the Green Knight movie.
mm-hmm.
So I read that. It's pretty good. I liked it. It's I don't know how much you're. It's kind of funny. I'm not really in the Arthurian myth because I feel like a lot of it is just like, oh yes, let's go, and you know, it's like no, like I like something a little, I guess grittier. I guess
I get that. Yeah.
I have a very morbid soul. Believe it or not, as friendly and perky as I am right now, I have a very morbid soul in here.
No, that's cool. I get that.
Though
If
I
you
have
like,
softened on Arthurian. Like I have softened a little bit. Like there's some Arthurian stuff I like. So,
have you read the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell?
No, I have not, but I've heard that's really good.
It's actually really good, and if you like a darker side to your Arthurian tales, that's a good one for you, I think.
Yeah, it's uh I really like The Green Knight. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but
Yeah, I saw it. I liked it quite.
I
I
loved it. It was
liked it
just this
quite a bit.
weird surreal trip of a movie,
It
and I'm like,
was.
"Oh, so good. So good."
A lot of A24 movies are like that, from what I've experienced, and yeah,
Yeah, it's probably the best distributor right now. They're making original movies that are just weird and off kilter that you wouldn't see a lot nowadays because we're so franchise driven now.
yeah. And there's one that I really want to see. It's a version of Shakespeare's Macbeth with Denzel Washington.
I want to see that too because I'm a big Coen
Yeah,
Brothers fan, and
yeah, yeah. I
and
definitely want to see
and
that.
I also love Denzel. Denzel,
Yeah,
my man.
Denzel.
I love that man.
Yeah, yeah. I was really kind of jaded at first when he started coming out with the Equalizer movies because I was a huge fan of the original Equalizer back in the '80s.
Oh
But
wow,
then I
okay.
but then I watched the movies and I'm like, I can appreciate these movies in their own right. They're not totally like the show that I grew up with, but they're still really good. And it's all because of Denzel.
I was about to say I liked those first two. I thought they were pretty. I thought they were like I had a good time with them anyway.
I did too. I have not seen the third one yet,
I
but
like, or at least there's like little things. I like how he like checks his watch every time he's about to like go off and like
right.
do stuff. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
Um.
like that too.
Um. But yeah, he's a it's I like Denzel. He's very good.
Yeah,
Um.
definitely.
Yeah. No. It's I also see you've covered like I don't know, where is it at? Oh, Earthsea. You know,
Mhm.
you have the one with the Charles Vess art, or yeah, that you do have the one with
I
the Charles Vess
do.
one. There's this
Yeah.
bookstore called Full Circle Bookstore that has that edition, and I'm always so tempted to pick it up. I can't. I don't know how much money it is for one. I'm too nervous, man. I'm like, do I really want to burn a
I get
hole
that.
in my in
It
my bank
it,
account?
it's a beast to hold. Like, I mean, the illustrations are
Like, oh, but that
beautiful.
Charles
It's
Vess artwork, oh,
Yeah, it's amazing. I got it for 27.99, so like $28 on Amazon.
Oh wow, that's a good
I
deal.
think
That's a
I think if you
steal.
buy it anywhere else, it's like 40. Like I saw it at Barnes and Noble, but it was like $40.
All right, yeah, that's
40, $45, which still isn't bad for what you're getting.
yeah. I think it would. I
But
thought it'd be like 60. They really try to like milk the money out of you or something.
I think the retail price may be like 50 or 60. Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's definitely worth it though. Like I'm very proud of owning that edition because you the nice thing is you get little snippets, so they've got interludes in between the different stories where it's like an interview with Ursula K. Le Guin because she writes like um, she writes articles on how she came up with the story ideas and what they
Mm-hmm.
meant to her and everything. I'm like, that's really cool. You kind of get that window into the author's mind.
Yeah, I like that too. I think I recently put out a video. Or well, I guess not recently. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I was talking about why I don't like the idea of death of the author, because like in my opinion, I find that when I mean, I explained it in my video I did about it, so I'll try and keep it brief here. But I feel like you kind of have to take the author's perspective into account when you read a book. Now, I'm not saying the author's perspective is God, but I am saying when you read it, you can come up with your own interpretations, but you kind of have to take the author's interpretation into account, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really do. I definitely agree with that. You can especially see a lot of that with well, not only with Le Guin, because there's a lot of Taoist philosophy that was promoted in those stories, and she herself is a philosophical Taoist. But you see that with Tolkien as well. You know, his personal belief system and his experiences definitely impacted Lord of the Rings, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, you can't really escape the author completely when you're reading. You just can't.
Yeah, I
I don't
think,
think.
I mean, I'll admit, I haven't read Le Guin aside from a couple of her, like, articles and essays she's done. I just don't know where to start. I'm thinking
Hmm.
either, like, Left Hand of Darkness or Earthsea that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, either one of those. I ashamedly I have not read any of her. uh, Hainish cycle, which is Left Hand of Darkness is part of that, I believe. And I have not read Left Hand of Darkness yet, but it's high priority on my list to read from her, because
Yeah,
if Earthsea is any indication, she's a brilliant writer.
yeah, I think she's interesting the same way like Gaiman and Michael Moorcock is because you read her essays. The woman is very much, or she was, because she's unfortunately passed away some years ago.
Yeah.
She was a student of fantasy, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like
Yeah.
so often nowadays, I feel like a lot of fantasy authors don't understand their roots, and that really
Yeah.
frustrates me as a reader, and
Yeah.
as someone who does what I do. And it's kind of frustrating. Kind of, hopefully, I won't get pushed back. I'm gonna throw some slight shade at BookTube. I get annoyed because I feel like there's a lot of BookTubers who don't understand that as well.
I can see that. Sure.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should all be like intellectual scholars. That's fine. You know, I
Right.
get people, just like to read stuff, and that's great. You can do that. But I mean, I think I like channels at least that take the fantasy genre seriously. That take these
Yeah.
genres I love seriously. It's not just because there's a lot of that academia that kind of gets in the way when it comes to like actually talking about it, the genres.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But that's I feel like if you're going to become a fantasy writer, you should know a little bit about where it's from, so you can add your own splash to the genre.
Right. Yeah.
I hope you
absolutely.
have. You've written some stuff.
Yeah. I've written some stuff, and a lot of what I've written. I've read lots of fantasy over my lifetime. Some of the classics like Lord of the Rings, and I'm relatively new to Earthsea, but I read fairly broadly in fantasy, and I feel like I brought that knowledge to my books.
That's fair. That's a good segue. I would like to ask you a little bit about your books. So
Sure.
What would you describe them as in terms of like style? What would you describe? Like, what are your books about, and how would you describe them? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first book, Talendor's Guest, it's technically a book of short stories, but it's nestled in a frame narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a traveler. At the risk of calling him a world hopper, because that's a Sanderson thing, but that's basically what he is. And he arrives on this world, and he gets cornered in a dragon's cave and has to tell the dragon.
What that cover is, because there's a dragon in there.
And he has to, in order to keep from being eaten by the dragon, he has to entertain the dragon with tales of his travels. So that's what that is. So it's other people have compared it to Arabian Nights or Canterbury Tales, that sort of
Hyperion even.
What's that?
Hyperion even. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I guess you could compare it to that. I would never say that I'm anywhere near as good as Dan Simmons is, but.
Oh, I know. I was being facetious.
Just brilliant, but it's kind of that same idea, yeah. So it's technically a book of short stories. You're getting various different types of stories as you read this book, whereas The Nomad's Crucible is just one story. It's a science fantasy, heavier on the fantasy, and it's a philosophical crucible. So that he goes through, he's an assassin, but throughout the course of the book, the things he learns about himself and his journey drastically changes him by the end of the book. And but it's much more, it's much darker than probably a lot of the stuff in Talendor's Guest. It's much bloodier. It's more violent.
Well,
Um,
it's about an assassin, so I imagine it would be pretty
yeah,
violent.
yeah, for sure. And I learned a lot from writing this book. Uh, and I incorporated a lot of what I learned into writing the second book. And the over the it's taken me almost 8 years to complete this second book. So I a lot of revisions, a lot of changes. I think for the good. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's
No, no, no. It's good. It's good. It sounds good. Um, I really that yeah, that's good. I I actually wrote something. I was actually looking at it last night. I just
oh awesome.
I haven't made up my mind on what I'm going to do with it yet because
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard, but there's kind of a tension between traditional and self-publishing for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
You're sure?
I'm 23. I could do traditional publishing if I wanted to. Like, I have time, but at the same time, I don't want to be one of those guys who wastes like 10 years of his life trying to get something published, and then I'll just be
Right.
sitting here being like, it sucks. I could have self-pubbed and been fine. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there you go. That's kind of the conundrum I'm at right now, but I'm still editing it.
I can appreciate that. So it's a completed manuscript, but then you're going through revisions, or
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
nice. Wow, that's awesome. What genre?
I call it. It's dark fantasy, for lack of a better word.
Cool.
So there you
Yeah.
go. I also kind of try to make up new names for it. It's like sword and flintlock, or flintlock and sorcery. I don't know.
Nice.
it's like but dark fantasy to keep things simple.
Mm-hmm.
It was yeah, and I mean, and there's also other things. I'm like, oh man, and it's also kind of why I started this YouTube channel again, because I was hoping to get some potential readers, maybe.
Sure.
Uh, but yeah, no, it's uh, but yeah, no, it was neat to write. I'm working on something else at the moment, but stuff keeps getting in the way, and also I was getting kind of burned out. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take a break from this for a little bit, and I'll get back to it in a little while. And now it's been like 4 months, so now I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
really bad. But we'll see how it goes.
Hey, I totally get that. Yeah, I went through.
It's been a hard writing and reading year. I'll put it that way. Like last
Yeah,
year, I was cooking. Like I was reading a good bunch. I was writing a lot. Yeah, I wrote the first novel. I'm like, yes, this is great.
yeah,
And yeah, just yeah, this year's been interesting.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I can definitely, understand the struggle, because that's one reason it took me almost 8 years to get this second book out, is because I just kind of got stuck, and I got into a creative slump. And then I started my YouTube channel 5 years ago. So I was, trying to get that up and running and get it going. And so, yeah, life gets in the way, man. It really does.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. Um, really, it's yeah. Let me tell you, man, it took a long time for me to finally take that step, but finally I just talked to a friend of mine. And he's like, dude, just do it. Like, you know, you're just using excuses not to do it. So just do it. And I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'm like, screw you. And I wrote it. And I'm like, there you go. Take that. And then I had him edit it, and that was fun.
Yeah.
And then my dad, my dad looked it over, and he's like, that's bullshit. You paid $400 for that. I'm gonna edit it now. I'm like, all right. It's like, I'll take it. Whatever. I thought he did a good job, but um, I don't want to explain to him all that entails.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't come from a literary family. Like my dad reads a lot of like my dad will read. He reads like sports books and
Mhm.
like self-help books and like religious stuff. Like
Okay.
that's kind of his wheelhouse. And my mom, well, she does read sometimes. not often. But me,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had the bug for some reason.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I tried to instill a love of reading in my kids because I've always been a huge reader, and they've done really well, but they've kind of taken a break, and they've kind of branched off into reading a lot more manga and stuff like that, which I'm cool with that too. It's still reading, so you know.
Well, you should point him towards BookTube because my God, manga has taken over the world on BookTube. Much to my frustration as an American comics fan. There's some
It
manga.
really has taken off quite a bit, yeah. And I recently started reading my first manga. I started reading Vinland Saga and quite enjoy it. But yeah, my kids watch my YouTube channel. I don't know if they watch much BookTube other than that, but they keep up with my YouTube channel, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That's nice. I mean, there's some kids who might be like, "Oh, my dad,
Yeah,
I'm too
my
cool
my
to
my
watch it
kids.
or whatever."
It's kind of cool because my kids will tell me, yeah, I told so and so about your YouTube channel, and I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. So they seem proud that their dad's a booktuber. So I'm like, okay,
That is always a good thing. Um,
yeah, it is.
though, it's yeah, my mom watches my BookTube channel, and for some reason she likes to watch it kind of like she puts it on like 1.5 speed for whatever reason, and when she does this with all of her videos, so it's not just me, but like I sound like Ben Shapiro when I'm sped up.
Oh,
I'm just like, God, Mom, what's wrong with you?
oh man, I can only imagine. I can't listen to anything at that speed, honestly. Like the when I read audiobooks, the best I can do is 1.2, and that's kind of where I sit. I can't go faster than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really, I'm not against audiobooks. I always tell people this. Like, I don't have anything against audiobooks. I mean, I
Yeah,
do prefer physical media, for one, but also,
sure.
I just get distracted really easily, It's just,
I get that.
I
Yeah.
just,
Yes, especially certain audiobooks. Like right now,
unless
I
it's
don't know
like
if you've
Stephen
read.
Pacey, like,
Okay.
or have you read or listened to First Law?
I haven't. No, I
Oh,
well, no, I've read First Law, but I haven't. Well, only the original trilogy, but I have
oh, okay.
not listened to Stephen Pacey with it. I've heard he's good.
Oh, he's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah,
And
I've
I'm
heard
saying that as
that.
a usually non-audiobook consumer. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm not typically audiobook consumer, although I have listened to a few like the Dresden Files. I'm currently listening to the newest book in the Bobaverse series by Dennis E. Taylor because those are audiobook exclusive for the first 6 months. So I wanted to read the new book as soon as it came out the other day. So I'm doing the audiobook, and I don't know if you've read the Bobaverse series, but it's a lot of fun.
I have
Yeah,
not, but I have heard that name. I don't remember who
yeah,
wrote it.
yeah. We Are Legion, We Are Bob is the first book, and it's funny. It's satirical, and it's very nerdy. Like especially if you're into Star Trek. They do some Star Wars stuff as well, but if you're into Star Trek, then
I do like me some Star
yeah,
Trek. I do. I
yeah,
do.
it's super Trekky. It really is.
Um, well, I don't know if you've read Joe Burns' books, The Hybrid Helix, but
Oh, they've
it's
been on my radar. I haven't read them.
basically superheroes and Star Trek. I'm like, oh yes, I love
Mhm.
this.
Nice. Yeah, I they've been on my radar.
Well,
I
Deep
just
Space Nine
I
and
need.
superheroes. So
Okay.
if you like
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine, you'll dig it.
Yeah. I only saw a few episodes of Deep Space Nine.
Oh, it's my favorite track,
I'm
man.
uh I'm a Next Generation guy, so
That's fair, yeah. Hey, Cisco's in it. Wasn't he in the Next Generation? I think he was in the Next Generation.
I don't know if he was in the Next Generation. I don't remember. The only so that particular actor, um, I the only thing I've ever seen him in, other than a few episodes of Deep Space Nine, was when he played Hawk on Spencer for Hire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I was a fan of him from that. But I only saw a few episodes of Deep Space Nine.
Oh man, that's like my favorite Trek, man.
Yeah, I'll probably get around to it one day. There are so many shows on my watch
I
list, and
know,
I'm like,
yeah. That's I've been so
and
bad
then
at keeping up with movies and TV because, like, for one, there's so much of it.
right,
Also,
yeah,
I have
yeah,
all
there
these
there
streaming
really is.
services. I don't know what I'm gonna watch. I have Tubi, I have HBO Max, and Amazon
Yeah,
Prime. I'm like, I don't know what to watch on all these. This isn't fair.
same. Yeah, I only recently got started with True Detective, and it's got what, 4 seasons now.
Oh, are you watching the first one?
I watched the first one. I haven't watched the other three
Oh
seasons, but the
man,
first one was excellent.
I love that. It's one of my favorite seasons of television.
Yeah, it's really great. Matthew McConaughey
That's
and
my
Woody
favorite role
Harrelson
from
were.
him, just overall.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a ton of stuff, uh,
Like,
but what I have
watch like
seen
his
him in, I
early like rom com roles, and then like watch that. Like, it's insane. Like,
right.
though I also like
Yeah,
Dazed and
he
Confused a
was
lot.
in the oh, what's that one with what's her name, the Hispanic singer? He was in a romantic comedy with her. Oh, what was that? She was a maid turned. I forget, but yeah,
I don't watch a lot of romantic comedies, unfortunately. I
yeah.
just
I've only seen a few myself, but I did see that one, and I forget the name of it now. But
I like
yeah,
McConaughey, even though he's a Longhorns fan, which yeah. But
right.
um, man, let me tell you, True Detective, he just blew it away in that one.
He did. Yep, he really did.
And Woody was really good too. I think Woody doesn't get enough credit in that season because everyone was like, "Oh man, it's
Yeah,
McConaughey."
I think Woody is an underrated actor in general.
Oh
To be
yeah.
honest,
I mean, I
I
don't know if you've ever seen Out of the Furnace. He is
oh
terrifying in
no,
that movie.
really? Okay,
That's actually my favorite role from him is that movie.
interesting.
Um.
See, yeah, I grew up watching Cheers with my dad,
Oh yeah.
and and,
My
and
parents
so
love
like
Cheers.
that was my first introduction to Woody Harrelson.
He's
But yeah,
very
no,
good.
he
Yeah,
he is very good.
he's been in a good couple of things. He was in Natural Born Killers, which is
Yeah, I heard about that one. I haven't seen that one either. But
and No Country for
he
Old
was
Men. He's
in
in like
Hunger Games as well.
oh yeah he was. That's right. I'm not a big Hunger
Yeah,
Games fan, but I do remember he was in those movies.
yeah. I only saw the first movie. I read all the books, and they were okay. I didn't care for the ending, but they were decent, and the movie was pretty good as I remember. But I haven't watched the other two
I
movies
remember when
or
I
three
read the
movies.
second book, I really hated how she depicted trauma in that book.
Mm,
But I thought the first and third one were fine. Like I didn't like people were like saying it like comparing it to Twilight. I don't think it's that bad, but not my thing.
right. Yeah, I don't think it's that. Like I watched the first couple of Twilight movies with my ex, and they weren't great. Like for one thing, I'm a purist when it comes to vampires, and that just did not
You
do it
you,
for
you
me.
like you like scary vampires.
I like scary vampires
You don't
who
like
actually
vampires
burn in
playing
the sun,
baseball.
right?
I actually thought that was one of the fun parts of that
Yeah,
playing baseball.
yeah, yeah, just definitely not my thing.
Yeah, I'm like, guys,
But
if you want a like better version of that, just read Anne Rice. For my God, just read Anne Rice.
Anne Rice is I still have not read Anne Rice. I wanted to. I did see the original movie with Tom Cruise, and I'm a huge fan of the Underworld movies. Like those movies are my jam. But I did read Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. Have you read those books?
I have not, but I did see my
Oh,
friend John Minton from Talking
yeah.
Story talk about it, and from the way he
If
described it, it kind of sounded like Elric with vampires, and I was like, oh, that sounds
yes,
kind of
I
cool.
would say that's an accurate. Now, I have not read Elric yet. I have it, but I haven't read it. But I know enough about it to understand that sentiment, and I think that's right. Yeah.
Kind of gothic, moody, strange. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's as weird as Elric, because Elric goes off in some weird directions, but
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to. I'm hopefully going to get to Elric at some point. But yeah,
they're solid.
I'm
Though, Michael Moorcock, he did the kind of multiversal thing before Brandon Sanderson did it, and
right.
gets a little convoluted, I will admit. So just keep that in mind if you do read Elric.
Okay. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Because he
Uh,
has like a whole mythos about the Eternal Champion and
right. Yeah, I
law
did
and
hear about.
chaos. It's very
Yeah.
imaginative. I'll say that.
Yeah. I felt like the Empire of the Vampire and Empire of the Damned were both very cohesive. It is a very cohesive story. I feel so.
Yeah,
In
I've
that
heard Jay
respect, it might not
Kristoff's
be.
a little polarizing in some ways.
He can be. That's what I've heard as well. I didn't see anything in those books that I thought was like controversial, in my opinion, but nothing that you wouldn't see in other books in that genre and such. So
I don't
I
know.
yeah, I
I
think
take a lot of things with a grain of salt.
mhm. I've I've heard that a lot of people are polarized by his Nevernight series.
Oh,
So
I've not read that at all. So
I haven't either, but I think that was his first series.
yeah, it's a I haven't read it, so I don't know. But yeah,
Mhm.
but hey, it could be good. I don't know. I haven't read them, so I can't say.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I haven't either. I think I have the first book on my Kindle, but yeah, this new series of his though is fantastic.
Yeah, I like scary vampire. I'm actually because I in October I like to really go into the horror theme and just read a
Hmm.
bunch of horror the whole month. I'm hoping to read In the Valley of the Sun, which is a vampire book. So
Oh, okay.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Who's the author on that one?
Let me look. Andy Davidson.
Hmm. Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
Um,
You'll have to let me know what you think of it. I might pick it up because I do like a good vampire novel. So
yeah, we need more quality scary vampire stuff.
we do.
Maybe ask
Yeah.
John Minton. He's a big vampire nut. I don't know if you watch Talking Story, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I watch him constantly. He's really great. He's got a lot of great recommendations. He turned me on to what's the guy that wrote The Passage?
Cronin, isn't that the dude's name?
Yeah, Justin Cronin. I have not read anything of his yet, but he taught John talked about a vampire novel that he had written. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could totally get into this. So
Yeah, I'm actually. I see you've talked about the Adance. Have you read the whole thing? The whole
I
trilogy?
have, yeah,
I've only
it's
read
really quite good.
I've only read the first two, and I'm actually hoping to read the next one after I complete Hyperion or The City in the City, whenever that'll be.
Right.
Hopefully soon, because I'm actually getting towards the latter end of Hyperion. Um,
Okay.
like I said, I just finished the Scholar's story, so
Hmm.
we'll see how that goes. Uh, but yes,
Yeah, the Return to Adan, the final book, is really really good.
yeah, I was actually really excited about it because I'm like, because the second one I was like, okay, so how's he gonna do this? Is this gonna be the war just gonna be in this book, or is he gonna drag it out for two books? Nope, he ended the war right there, and I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see what he does next. Like,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. I was very impressed. I think Way of Adan is still probably my favorite book in the series, which, a lot of people don't like first books in a series, but I think he really killed it. I think he really nailed
Oh
that
yeah,
book.
I liked it. I actually liked it a lot more than Prophet of Edan, even though I liked Prophet
Hmm.
of Edan a lot.
I did too.
I
Yeah,
thought Way of Edan was really strong as a first book.
it was. Yeah,
I even
it
told
was
him, I'm
really,
like, there's actually an arc in it. Isn't just setting a bunch of stuff up. He was
right.
like, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and for this as his debut series, and granted, he's worked on it for several, over a decade, I think, before he released it. For this to be his debut series, it's quite good. It's very, very good. I was impressed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I remember right, he worked on it for like 18 years.
Yep, he
I
did.
was like, damn, dude. And it shows, I think. It really does show.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too.
He really, he really put a lot of effort into it, I thought.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and it didn't feel like a Tolkien clone, so that was nice too.
That's true. It didn't. That was really nice. Yeah.
I really like how he did elves too, because I'm believe it
Yeah.
or not, I'm a big elf nut. I really like elves.
I like Elvis too. Yeah. Yeah, and I like how he gave a much darker tone to the elves.
Yeah, they're more like eldritch abominations, and you know,
Yeah,
it's really quite good.
yeah, it is.
Hello, kitty. Here, she's on me. Hey, don't bite. Yeah, she's just crawling around. Are you gonna sit on the books? Just rubbing up on the computer. That's nice. Okay. Cats. You can see the tail. I've had friends who've watched my videos and they're like, "Oh, look, there's a little squiggly cat tail." Yeah,
Yep,
yeah. I'm talking about
yep,
you. Get over here. Um,
yeah. Ari does that too. She's been more and more involved in my videos lately.
yeah, I see her in some of your thumbnails. Your cat. So
Yeah,
I call her my partner in crime because she's in a lot of my videos.
yeah. She's in. Yeah, my cat's in a lot of my videos too. In fact, one of my most recent videos, there was an extreme close up because like she got up and she was staring straight into the lens, and then she turned around and gave everybody a butt shot. And I didn't edit it out. I'm like, I'm just letting you guys know I'm not editing this out. It was super funny.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's. I mean, I see you have bookish white whales. So is that like books you're
yeah,
intimidated by?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So what are some books
yeah,
you're
book.
intimidated by? I'm curious to hear your answer.
Yeah, well, definitely Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. We talked about that
Mm,
earlier. Uh, Shogun is another one.
mm.
Um, the Count of Monte Cristo.
I read that in
Uh,
middle school.
yeah,
It's pretty. I remember liking it, but I have a lot of not fond memories of it because well, you see, I was in an AP class, and I didn't realize I had to read
yeah.
it over the summer. So I had to kind of cram it in the first couple weeks of class. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that was a big suck. But it was a fun story though. I remember that.
Yeah, it's yeah, so those are the three of my big ones. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else just off the top of my head, but I can't think right now. So,
I like your hats as well, especially like that
oh,
steampunk
thanks.
one you have, or is that like a steampunk
Yeah.
hat? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I meant to throw a hat on for the stream and I didn't. I should have.
Oh well, it's fine. We
Yeah.
still have the videos.
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's a good one. um,
Yeah. Yeah. I like wearing the different hats. It's something unique for me, I guess.
yes, it seems to be like a recurring theme on your channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, I even did a video where I showed off all my hats. I did a whole video about my hats. It was weird, but it worked.
You know, I'm actually thinking about kind of. I know it might be a bit of a non sequitur, but I'm actually thinking about doing like my top 10 favorite fantasy now. Like I've thought, because I've gone back and forth about doing it for a very long time. Because it's, well, for one, it's really tough to put it all together and like, oh, is this my favorite? Oh, this one,
Right.
which one should I, and also, I've seen people do it, and I'm like, I don't know if I could like, I don't know if I could like figure out all the. But I'm gonna try it this next week. I'm gonna see if I can do it. So
Cool. Yeah, I'll look forward to that. I'll definitely watch it.
um, it's kind of hard because there's a lot of fantasy series out there that I like. I mean, there are some I'm like, yeah, this is definitely going on there, and then there's ones that I'm gonna have to figure out where I'm gonna put them or if I'm not gonna put them in.
Yeah.
I'm also adding standalones because well, my favorite fantasy book is a standalone, so there you go. Well, technically, it's. I know Anansi Boys, like, is Anansi Boys like a spinoff, sequel? Like, what is it?
Kind of, sort of. I thought it was originally, and then as I read it, I'm like, it's in the same world. Like, Mr. Nancy is in it, which he's also in American Gods,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really the only connection.
Yeah, I mean, the only spoiler is like most people know what my favorite fantasy book is, so that's probably not gonna shock anyone.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was tempted to put the Sandman in there, but I'm like, I don't know. It's a comic,
Yeah. I get that. I can understand that.
Though John
Yeah.
Minton did it, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I still consider comic books.
Well, yeah, no, it's just it.
But
I mean, I guess it's because it's a different medium, and I'm trying to set a rule for myself where it's one author per list, per pick.
sure.
So
Sure. Yeah.
we'll see
Yeah.
how that goes.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. I don't know how well it'll be.
Yeah.
But I did think about making an exception because I do love Sandman a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a great series. I have not read the extended Sandman universe, the newer stuff, but the original core story arc, I've read all of it, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it feels kind of weird to me because like I think of the Sandman, I think of Neil, I think of Gaiman.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't know really what else someone could do with that world.
Fair enough.
But I might get over myself and read some of it at some point. We'll see.
Yeah. Hank. We have another cat in the house. Hank, no, no, no. He likes to come in here and eat Ari's food, and
Gotta love those cats.
right.
I was going to ask you a little bit about self pub because I've been dipping my toes a little bit in the self pub this year.
Mhm.
I read the Adan trilogy, which again, really hoping I can get that in before the end of September because October is when I do my horror month.
Mhm.
So I also read I read Andrew Meredith's book Thrice,
Oh yeah.
which I
Okay.
liked, but I had a hard time reading it because I had to read it on my phone, and that was kind of a weird. That threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
um, but it was a good book though. I liked it a lot. It's a bit. I liked the more. I thought I'd have a more interesting time with the smaller scale fantasy. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I have not read any Andrew Meredith. I read Patricia, his wife. I've read her. One of
He's one of
her.
the smartest writers I've read, or not I've read, I've met so far on BookTube. He's like, dude knows what he's talking about.
Oh yeah, it seems like it. I've seen some of his interviews as well. I
Yeah,
haven't read a ton of self pub, but I've read the ones I have read. I've quite enjoyed, like you, Dan. I don't know. Do you like horror?
I do. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
you
I was
need to
talking about Victor LaValle. So.
right. You need to check out Chad Nicholas.
Oh, okay.
This is his newest book, and The
Is that a
Animal, and
werewolf? Is it a werewolf
yeah,
book?
and this is a slasher novel. It's fantastic.
Ooh, is it a werewolf
Absolutely
novel? Is it a
brilliant.
werewolf novel,
Yeah.
Chaz?
Well, kind of. You'll just have to. I
I'll
can't
just
say
have to
anything
wait.
without spoiling
Oh,
it, really.
I'll
But
just have to wait and see. Oh, okay. Okay.
it's so good. It's so good. And he has two other books. One is uh, uh, Shade, which is it's like a thriller horror novel.
We'll add to
Like
my
like
list.
it's like a murder mystery horror, more or less. And
I will add
then
it to the ever expanding list.
his original book Nightmare is also good. And I can't talk him up enough. His books are so good. He is one of the few authors that has reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to read my book and review it?" And somebody else had said how good his books were, so I had agreed to it. And he's one of the few authors that I have done that, and I liked the books so much that I bought the hardcovers.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping to read Tori Tekken's book,
Yeah, I want
Phase,
to read hers
because
too.
I'm a big werewolf nut.
Okay.
You like vampires. Werewolves are my freaking thing. I
Okay,
like
cool. I like vampire, or I like werewolves as
and
well.
not
Yeah.
sexy werewolves. All right, I want the like
Yeah, right.
scary American Werewolf in London type of werewolves.
Same. Yep.
um, I want that. And it's
Hmm. I get
um,
that.
I mean, though I've heard that Tori's is more dark fantasy, but
Hmm.
I generally think of it as horror enough, so I added it. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to reading it though. It looks really good. Um, Seemed kind of YA, but I'm not. I'm trying not to knock it. I'm gonna try it first. But I read like a
Yeah.
part of the Amazon sample and I liked what I saw. So
I want to read her newest one. I think it's The Bloodstones or something like that.
yes, yeah, that's her fantasy, right? I've seen like T from An Erudite Adventure really liked it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I mean it got positive reviews. And Andrew Meredith did the audiobook apparently. So
Oh, really? Okay. Nice. Well, hey, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Um, I mean he has a good voice, so I think he'd do well at it. Hey, kitty, I can't get over here. Goddamn cat. That's right. I'm talking about you. Um, but yeah, no, it's I watched I watched your video about authors with weird titles, or I looked at it. I'm like, have you ever
Yeah.
read Philip K. Dick? Because he has some pretty strange titles.
Yeah. Yeah. He does. A couple of his books are on that list too.
Oh yeah,
Um,
really? That's like, oh yep, there
yeah,
it
I've got
is.
a. Yep.
I was about to say,
Yep.
I was
I've
like,
got a
you want
couple of his
peak like
on there.
weird titles? Like there you go. He's though he was just weird all around. Though he's one of
Yeah.
my favorite sci-fi authors, so I'm a little biased there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love this. I've only read Do Androids Dream, and
I'd say that's a good place to start.
yeah, and I loved it, and I do plan to read more Philip K. Dick. So,
Yeah, I read Ubix this year with my friend Darko, and that was pretty good.
oh yeah, Dark was awesome.
Yeah, he's a good dude. We read here's I got a funny story for you. So, if you remember, he did a video about Kindred.
Yes. Yeah.
Me and him read Kindred together,
Okay.
and like the day before I put out our conversation about Kindred, he puts out that video and it blows up, and like I was a little jealous. I'll admit, I was a little jealous because it blew up, and I was like, man, oh, it was a great video though. But
Mhm.
and Kindred is still my favorite book I've read this year. So there you go. It
Oh, that's awesome. I have not read Octavia Butler yet, but she's on my list to read as
oh
well.
man, it's that book is just it's so like there's nothing in it that feels like a misstep. Like, it's one of those rare books where nothing feels like it's exactly what it's supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
Well, there's only one part, and that's that they're kind of a little blasé about the fact that they're in antebellum South, but it's just nitpick. But
Right.
Legit, like nothing. It was one of those books where I'm like, I don't think there's anything wrong with this, and
Right.
you know, well, it was my only 5-star rating until I read Lonesome Dove and Astro City.
Nice. I'm not really into westerns.
That's fair. Yeah. Well.
Yeah,
you
but
did like the Dark Tower, so.
I love the Dark Tower. Although Gunslinger was my least favorite.
That's fair.
Probably because I don't think it was because it was the most Western of the books. Although,
it's just weird. I hear you.
Yeah. And honestly, Wizard and Glass, the first half of Wizard and Glass was way more Western than the Gunslinger was even. But I don't know. Yeah, for some reason I liked Wizard and Glass a whole lot more. I don't know.
I really like The Wastelands myself.
Yeah, The Wastelands is a good book too.
And I like Wizard and Glass. I know a lot of people say that's
they're all really good in their own way. I think I would appreciate the Gunslinger on a reread.
Yeah, it's that. Here's the thing about Dark Tower. It's kind of a hard sell because the first book, if I remember right, there are 3 novellas that he put together. And kind of turned it into the book. And he even says in the introduction, like, it was a young man's book. Like, I was really young when I wrote it, so just take that in mind when you read it. So yeah, it's kind of a make it or break it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the few times where I think, say, wait till the second book is actually justified, but yeah, that's just me. Mm-hmm. But I don't think the Gunslinger's that bad though. It's pretty good still.
Yeah. Yeah, it is it was good for me. It just wasn't great. Like I wasn't super impressed with it.
Banger first line though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everyone likes the first line. That's the one thing everyone loves about the Gunslinger is that first line.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most iconic lines in all of literature. Really, I mean. Like I think it ranks right up there with it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a great first line for sure. You know, that's another one I want to reread, Dark Tower, because I want to see how it holds up.
Yeah.
And also, Dark Tower is one of those rare fantasy series, kind of like Elric. It just does whatever the hell it wants, and you know, I kind of respect that. You know, I can't hate that.
Right. Yeah.
There's deranged monorails and robot bears and
yeah.
Crimson
lots of weird stuff
and like creatures, monsters, all that stuff. It's great. I really. I do love the Dark Tower a lot.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Blame the train. He's lost it. He's lost his mind.
Oh man, yeah, that train. that train was something else. Like really well written. In that regard, I really liked the way he wrote Blame the Train. But man, that was creepy.
It's probably like a lot of people underrate King. Like that dude's imagination is absolutely insane.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Did you ever see? A lot of them think of him as a horror guy, you know. But anyway, what were you saying?
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, did you ever see any of the original Knight Rider show?
No, I don't believe so. It doesn't sound familiar.
So do you know the premise at all of Knight Rider?
No, I don't think so.
I guess it wouldn't help them, but basically he has a sentient car.
Oh.
And there's at one point in the series there's an evil version of that sentient car. And Blame the Train reminded me so much of that particular sentient car because it just like completely malevolent. I'm like, oh my god, I was having flashbacks.
It's that's the thing. That's the one thing. King. I'm like, you know what, King? I can put up with a lot from you. Okay, like creepy clowns. Okay, yeah, creepy this whatever. I haven't been able to bring myself to read Christine because I think that a creepy car just jumps the shark a little bit, at least in my opinion. Just I don't know. And I know people who've said it's good. I may read it at some point, but I don't know. It's just hard for me to get behind an evil car. Like, just... I'm like, okay, King, I don't know about that.
Yeah. I get that.
It's something else, I guess.
Yeah.
Though I guess King will make it work. I don't know.
Yeah, from what I hear, a lot of people do love it.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people like it, and like that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know. It's just I have a hard time. I mean, cars are already pretty scary in the real world because like if you crash them, you could die. But
right.
Like a possessed car, though, I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do
it. I get that. I get that. Like anything that should be like piloted by someone else and all of a sudden gets a mind of its own is a really creepy concept. Like,
sure, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. Did you ever see the movie Event Horizon?
No, I need to at some point.
It's oh my goodness. Yeah, it's basically about this ship called the Event Horizon gets lost in space, and it comes back. A crew finds it, and it's sentient, and it starts taking over their minds. It's like, it's a freakish movie. Oh my goodness, it's good, but it's freakish.
I hate to ask this.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your 2023 videos.
Yeah.
Is that your actual hair, or is that a wig from the 17th century?
No, that is my actual hair.
Okay, all right.
Yep, it is. Don't feel bad about asking. It's totally cool, man. Yeah, I went through a phase where I was.
Man, that's real. Is that like a gag? Like.
No,
but
yeah,
I think it is.
I went through this phase where I was growing my hair out, and I've had a lot of people to this day tell me that they're like, Chaz, I still can't believe you cut your hair. I'm like, yeah, it was just too much to take care of, but it worked, especially for the Scrooge video when I did a book review of A Christmas Carol and I dressed up as Scrooge, and it actually really worked for that video, but. I don't miss my hair. Like, yeah.
You like being bald?
I do. Yeah, I much prefer it. And like I can still grow hair. I'm not bald, but I just prefer it. It's easier this way. I just wake up in the morning, I wash and I go, and
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about audiobooks. What do you think of the Sandman audiobooks? Because that's a weird one for me.
I'm really impressed with it because it's essentially the graphic novel, but they have added in audio cues to help you visualize the things that you're not seeing on the page because you're listening to the audio version.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it was done brilliantly. And I love that they did that, especially for people who are blind. Mm-hmm. If they want to experience the Sandman, they can because they have all the audio cues given to them, or the visual cues given to them on audio, I should say. So I thought it was really well done. I've only listened to the first two. I own the third one, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I only thought it was kind of weird because like it's a comic, and it's a
Yeah,
visual thing, But
I
that's
totally
fair.
get it, but it works. It works splendidly, and
I think what's
James
nice.
McAvoy is a brilliant dream.
I think what's nice about gaming adaptations is that he is involved with the process, so that's always a nice thing. So
Yeah,
it's in good hands at least. Well, on that side anyway.
yeah,
um, but it's I do love that comic a lot.
yeah. I do too.
Maybe I'll listen to it one day. I mean, I just tell people it's kind of like an audio drama, really. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely like an audio drama.
Oh, well, Shade sounds cool. All right, I'll add that to my list. I added the Chad Nicholas books to my ever expanding reading list.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're really good. The third book. So the first book was Nightmare. The second book was Shade. They were both really good. They had their flaws, but for the most part, they were just excellently written. The third book, I found no flaws in whatsoever. It was just a wild, scary ride. You imagine a slasher movie on the written page. It just feels that way the entire way through, and it's so good.
Yeah, I mean that sounds cool. Even though I'm kind of on and off with slashers, I think there's some great ones like Scream and the original Halloween, but and the original Nightmare on Elm Street is fun. But I eventually kind of they just start killing people, and I'm like,
Yeah,
eh.
yeah. I myself am not a huge fan of slashers, but this book worked wonders for me. It was really good, and but yeah, I tend to like more. I'm not well versed in horror either. I'm kind of new to the genre, but I find that I like a lot more like cerebral type horror.
Mm.
And I loved The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker.
Yeah, I
Just
haven't read Barker yet. I want to some
oh
point, but
man, Barker's awesome. I've only read two books, but I'm hooked.
like I have Weave World and
Yeah.
the what the hell is the other one I have? It's one of his Hellraiser.
The only Hellraiser that I'm aware of is The Hellbound Heart, although the Scarlet
The
Gospels
Scarlet
also.
Gospels. Yep, that's the one I have.
Okay, yeah, that one also kind of plays into. It does feature the Cenobites in that one, so yeah, that's
Um,
technically.
well, I mean, I really do like horror a lot. There's some good authors out there like Paul Tremblay and um, I'll just say this because we're friends. Well, he's a good author, but we're also good friends. Curtis Lawson is very good.
Oh, okay, I haven't heard of him.
Um, let's see. I also like Edgar Allan Poe a lot.
Oh
So
yeah, me
Edgar Allan
too.
Poe is my favorite horror author. So there you go. Yeah.
Hey, fair enough. I love most of what I've read from Poe.
Blows
Um,
Lovecraft out of the water as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah,
yeah.
I do like Lovecraft, but I like them both. I feel like I probably like Poe slightly more, but that's not saying much because I do really like Lovecraft. And if you ever get a chance, watch Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix by Guillermo del Toro because he he does a couple of episodes on that show based on there's one based on Lovecraft's Pickman's model, or is that
Mm.
Poe?
Yeah, no, that's Lovecraft. Yeah, Pickman's model is
Okay,
Lovecraft.
yeah. But there's one that he does from Poe on there as well, and yeah. And if you, I mean, if you know Del Toro, he's just kind of does creepy stuff in general.
Yeah, I
But,
mean, I like Pan's Labyrinth a lot,
yeah,
and
I do too.
Shape of Water. I love it. I know a lot of people don't like it because of the fish man, and
I
I
wanted to see that one.
oh,
Yeah,
I saw it in theaters. It was great. It was a fantastic film. Um,
he's supposedly going to be doing At the Mountains of Madness, which if he does, I will be all over that. Because that's one of my favorite Lovecraft stories.
Yeah, he's been saying he's gonna do that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he's doing Frankenstein soon, which that'll be interesting.
Oh, I did hear that. Yeah. Yeah. I also wanted to see his creepy version of Pinocchio.
Yeah, I
But
thought about that. I'm not sure. Just from what I heard about it, it just sounded like he was doing Pan's Labyrinth again.
oh, okay. Yeah.
But I don't know. It could be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. He really was cook. He really had something going when he made Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. He did.
I really like that movie a lot.
Yeah, I did as well.
Yeah, it's. So what books are you reading right now?
Yeah. So right now, I'm actually reading 3 books. I'm reading the book 5 of the Bobiverse, which I mentioned briefly.
Oh yeah.
I'm reading The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Excuse me. And then I'm also reading Vengeful by V. Schwab. So this is the sequel to Vicious. It's part of her Villains trilogy.
Oh.
And it's excellent so far. I'm a big fan of Vicious. I'm fairly new to V.E. Schwab. I read A Darker Shade of Magic. I haven't finished that series yet, but it's on my list to finish.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of V. Schwab. I haven't tried her yet. I have the bad feeling she's one of those like Gaiman clones that just don't do it as good as he does. But we'll see.
Yeah, I get that. She's definitely got some similarities in style to Gaiman, but she's got her own unique flair. I appreciate her in her own way. I appreciate what she does. I think it's quite good.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm bumping her off right off of that, but it's like,
oh no, not at all.
I mean, but there's a lot of people who try to do that kind of Gaiman-y style, and it just doesn't hit as much as when Gaiman does it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's actually quite good. What little I've read from her, I've been very pleased with, and being as big of a Gaiman fan as I have been, I've always said he's my favorite author, and I really like her. So
yeah, it's we'll see. I'm actually hoping to read Deathless in December by Kathleen Vellante, I think is what her name is.
oh, I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
Which also seems Gaiman-y, so I'm like, oh, this all right. I might pick this up and see how it is.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I will say that Clive Barker reminds me of Neil Gaiman.
I was about to say, I think he was inspired by Gaiman. So,
oh, okay, maybe he was.
No, not. I think he inspired Gaiman actually.
Oh, okay, maybe so. Yeah, I know they're. I'm pretty sure they're friends. So I know. Yeah, they kind of cross the same circles.
So I'm looking at your Goodreads page. I'm scratching my head. So have you written Second Sight, or is that another Charles McGarry?
That's another Charles McGarry. Goodreads is kind of weird. Like for some reason, it attributes books to me that I have not written. But there's another guy out there called I think Charles E. McGarry, but somehow they attributed it to me, and I have no idea how, but they did.
Also, how'd you get Chaz from Charles? That's interesting.
What's that?
How'd you get Chaz from Charles?
That's a pretty common nickname for Charles. Not as common as Chuck or Charlie, but yeah, Chaz is pretty common, honestly. or at least in my generation it is. So that's kind of how I came up with it. But I don't know as Chaz is really common in your generation. Maybe. So
I only know it
I'm
from
showing my age
Chaz
here.
Bono. It's probably the only.
Oh yeah, that's right. And actually, Chaz Bono I think spells their name with a Z. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping whenever I get my author name on there, there isn't any other Britton Summers writers. Probably not. That's a pretty uncommon name.
Yeah, probably pretty uncommon. And honestly, like I prefer to go by Charles. Like, you know, in my friend circles, everybody calls me Charles for the most part. The only reason I did Chaz on my YouTube channel is because it flows better. Like, Bookish Charles doesn't really do much, in my opinion, anyway. But Bookish Chaz kind of flows. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Well, I have. This has been fun chat, but we are getting
Yeah.
around the 2 hour mark, and there are other
Yes,
things I'm
we
hoping
are.
to do today. But
Yeah, same here.
I'm glad we managed to get this together, though.
Yeah, I am too. I really appreciate it, Britton. It's been a lot of fun, and
And
we'll
hopefully we
have
can
to do it
do
again
something
sometime.
again. Maybe I'll read one of
Yeah.
your books and I'll get you back on my channel because I like to.
Oh, cool. I appreciate it.
When I know an author, I like to at least invite them to come on.
Yeah, well, cool. I appreciate it, and I'll look forward to seeing your video on your 10 favorite series.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it should be up next Friday, next Friday by the time this comes.
Right.
At least because this will take a while to get out. But anyway.
Okay. Oh, okay. So this is pre-recorded then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I like to ask before I go, if you have any social media, feel free to share it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty much just on YouTube. I do have a well, I'm part of a Discord, the Dragon's Den Discord. There's a link on my channel for it. I also have Facebook, but I'm not really super active on Facebook. I have a Bookish Chas page on Facebook as well. So, but other than that, I'm not really on any of the other socials. So yeah, the YouTube is definitely the best place to find me. I'm working on getting a website up, so that will happen in the future. But I don't have a website presence yet. So
Right.
Find me on YouTube or Discord. Those are probably the best places.
Well, all right. Again, Chaz, thanks for coming on and hanging out. This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, Britton. You have an awesome day.
All right. Take care, everyone. Until next time.
Bye, everybody.